What's good, Kalima Kam family? It's your girl Kalima, and you are officially locked in with the Kalima Kam podcast. Yes, where I'll be spilling the hottest Hollywood tea, then cooling you off with my words of wisdom. This is where pop culture meets wisdom. This is Kalima Kam.
You can take three perspectives about writing. One, the extreme of you can justify it. The other extreme of you think it's completely wrong and the people who did it are just bad, point blank, period. Or three, you can understand why it happened. And that's the point I take. I understand the rage that people feel who riot. Martin Luther King said, "Rioting is the language of the unheard." When people riot, it's because that they think that they're not heard, no one is listening, and that this is the only way to get people's attention. And that's the stance I take. I understand, I sympathize with you. I don't justify it, but I don't completely think that they're horrible people. If you can't understand why someone would feel that way, then there's something within you that needs to change, not them.
Hey girl, we're both in front of our closet.
I know, this is the best lighting, so I had to.
It's the best lighting for me too, but also like outside is nicer, but it's just so loud. I'm in LA.
Actually, my neighbors are mowing their lawn. Well, they stopped, but they were.
Yeah.
And I was like, I'm not sitting outside.
Yep,
It'll be too loud.
Yep, I said something's going to happen, then I'm going to be annoyed, but also like I have horrible Wi-Fi outside, so thank you so much for finding the perfect space, and hopefully I can create the perfect space for us to be open about this conversation. There's so much that I want to talk about, and of course there's like a time like this, I know for someone like you, it's kind of, is this your first interview?
Yeah.
It is, yeah. It's so crazy that it's coming at a time like this, but I think that of all the people, you know, especially on TikTok that I've seen, because I've only been on TikTok for a couple of months, I feel like people really want to hear what you have to say. Have you ever thought to yourself, why is it that people, you know, what was it? Do you feel like you know what it is about you that people gravitate to and like care to hear your opinion on things?
I guess for me, like at a young age, I've always been the type of person to be really confrontational and like to kind of just say what needs to be said. And I feel like sometimes that truthfulness and like even that like bluntness is like refreshing for a lot of people, like to be able to hear like the absolute truth, because you know, and like our culture, like being fake and like, you know, kind of sugarcoating stuff is not like, we're so used to that. And I feel like even now, like especially with like racial issues, it's good for people to hear what they need to hear and not what they want to hear. So
yeah, it takes so much courage to not say what people want to hear, especially being Black, being a woman, but also being mixed. Now tell us what you're mixed with, and tell us where that came from, of you being so confrontational but yet confident in where you are and how you speak to people.
So mainly I'm, well, white and Black, obviously, but so I live with my grandparents, and my grandpa is 100% Jewish. So my great-grandparents were immigrants from Germany, and then my grandma's parents were also immigrants from Poland. So it's like I have a little bit of, you know, like I have immigrants as like great-grandparents and things like that. And then my father is African American with also Native American.
Okay.
And so I mix with like different things, obviously. And I guess because I'm more in contact with the white side of my family, but because of my grandparents and the fact that their parents are immigrants, they've been able to educate me on their history and their culture, and then they've taken me around the world to different countries to learn about different cultures and things like that, which I guess has put me in a position where it's like, because I'm mixed, because I have multiple cultures that are part of me, it's easier for me to like connect, I guess, with different people, you know what I'm saying?
Wow.
So
that's so awesome. Okay, so I want to jump into this. Really, I wanted to do a little bit of an icebreaker because I figured this probably was your first interview, and a lot of your fans only get to see 60 seconds or less about how you feel and about who you are. So we're gonna first do a little cute game, smash, marry, kill. Do you have any celebrity crushes, or just like any crushes at all?
I'm trying to think because now, like,
if you could name 3, who would you smash, who would you marry, and who would you kill?
okay.
Cartoons are included.
Oh, okay, then we're good. I guess it's like the younger versions of them. So I would. So what is it? Smash, marry, kill.
Yeah, like who would you hook up with? Who would you smash? You know, who would you marry? And then who would you like? I don't even care about them. They're killed.
I think I would smash young Johnny Depp.
Okay, yes.
Oh, God, he was so fine.
Beautiful, yes.
And then I would marry. Let's see. Because I'm also trying to think of character. Because there's a lot of celebrities who are really fine, but they have horrible personalities. I'm like, really?
I know.
I think I would marry. I actually might have to marry Will Smith. I mean, if he was a little like his younger self.
Yeah, girl, and his older self for me. How old are you?
I'm 17.
I was like, I wasn't sure if you were as old as me, but yes, honey. I mean, for me, I'm actually legal to marry his age right now, but no respect to Jada. I love Jada. Right. Honestly, that's the issue, is that Jada's so amazing that you could never disrespect her. Yeah.
Right, exactly. So I'll be like, you know what? You got him.
Yes. We can really kill anybody, so.
If I could kill... People are going to come at me for this one. I don't know. For legal reasons, this is a joke.
Of course.
I think I'd have to kill the president. I'm sorry. Like, he just have to go. He'd have to go.
He's not a celebrity crush in any form or fashion.
Oh, that is true. That is true.
But that's okay. At the end of the day, you can be Melania, because at the end of the day, she's probably plotting to kill him anyway. You know what I'm saying?
Probably. I would not be shocked.
I wouldn't be surprised. You know? Okay, next question. If you had a warning label, what would your warning label say? I know. It takes some real, like,
It'd probably be, like, warning 100% sarcasm. Because I'm really sarcastic, and, like, people hate it, and I'm just like, I'm sorry. Like, you don't like
What's
it.
Your sign? What's your sign?
Scorpio.
Okay, cool. Okay, yeah. I mean, my family's Scorpios, and yes, they're sarcastic. And I'm a Sagittarius, so I'm a little bit more sensitive. Where that sarcasm, sometimes I just don't get it. But I love sarcastic people at the same time, though. And I think that's another reason why people really like you a lot, because they know that even though you're sarcastic, you're going to keep it 100. Worst job you've ever had?
We're babysitting. I really dislike kids, and the kids that I had to babysit were like the ages from like 3 and like 1. So it's not like they could even like do stuff on their own. Like I had to watch them for the entire time. And the 3-year-old made me like voice like every single one of her stuffed animals for 2 hours. And that entire time I was like, even though it's for the money, I hate this. It's
kind of a good thing though, because it really, like, I'm older, but like I have a little nephew, and yes, I feel like I love him, but it really showed me that kids are just not for me. Not for now, not for a little while, you know. So
literally,
it's still a good, like, at least you got paid to learn that, you know.
Right.
Okay. First thing you do if you won $1 million.
First thing, I'd travel. For sure.
Where would you go first?
I'd go to Japan. And then I'd probably go to Australia. And then probably Rome. For sure.
Favorite TikTokers?
It's so sad because I don't actually know their names or their usernames. I just know.
Oh, same. I don't either. But you just know who they are.
Yeah, like if I see them, I'm like, oh, I follow them. But
so what kind of subjects are they? Like, are they just all comedians? Are they more political like yourself?
A lot of them are political like myself, but then others are like makeup artists, but they do like the really creative, extreme ones.
Same. I'm thinking of people in my head and don't know their names, but love them to death.
Right. Yeah. Exactly.
One thing TikToks should ban. One thing that TikTok should ban on the app.
I think. Well, I feel like they should. Okay. Well, I guess like one, they shouldn't ban certain like hashtags because now they're like banning the hashtag like George Floyd and banning the hashtag like Black Lives Matter, and they should also ban.
That's so crazy.
Yeah, and they should also ban the ability to like be openly racist and homophobic because like that app has shown me that people are way, and I was just like,
You're saying that it's even better to expose it so that we can see it right
right.
in front of our faces. Yeah.
Yeah,
I mean,
that is true.
it would, I think it sounds like that's what you're saying, even though it would cause more controversy, but you're saying
Right.
that you think that people need to see it because they act like they don't realize that it's real.
Yeah, it's mind blowing for sure.
Yeah. Yeah. One thing you wish you knew earlier in life.
That college is low-key a scam.
Period. Girl, I'm about to actually put on, I have on my YouTube, I have a video that I'm still editing, but it's literally about college and how it is a business and it's coming from executives. It's showing executives like Jay-Z, like the founder of Tesla, and just all the way up and down investors, just showing how, listen,
Right.
you really make it just off of your own education and really branding. If you yourself, you've become your own publication, and if you know how to take advantage of that, you don't really need, especially we're in the era of social media and internet, there's access to learn a lot. So yes, it is a scam.
Right.
At the same time, I don't want to go to a hospital with a doctor who doesn't have a license. I think
Yeah.
Yeah. Okay,
Yeah.
what's one thing on your playlist for life? A song on your playlist for life. You'll never delete it. Maybe your favorite song ever.
Because I listen to literally every genre of music.
Yeah.
It would probably have to be Listen Before I Go by Billie Eilish. I'm actually wearing a Billie Eilish shirt now.
Obsessed with Billie Eilish. Okay, a book everyone should read.
The Hate You Give.
Bravest thing you've ever done.
Bungee jumping off a 130-foot bridge.
Oh, goodness gracious. But I want to do it too. Even though
so
that's
fun.
Secret talent.
I don't really have I mean, like, I can make my tongue do this, but it's not, like, necessarily, like, a secret talent, but...
Yeah, the clover.
Right, I was like, is that... But other than that, I don't really have a secret talent.
You low-key should do a damn TikTok or like a photo with you like that. I bet people would just be like, because you already have like really interesting, awkward pictures. Like, what's a tongue trick?
Right.
It's exactly. Not, best dish you cook in the kitchen.
I can't cook.
You cannot
I can bake, though. I can bake, though. So, one time, I made this homemade, like, Oreo, like, ice cream chocolate cake.
Oh, that sounds good.
It was labeled diabetes. It was so good.
Yes.
So good.
Yes. If you could read the mind of one celebrity, who would it be?
I feel like it would honestly have to be Billie Eilish again because she would talk about how she has this journal that she doesn't let anyone read. Oh. And, like, I just want to know, like, what's in it.
Like, that journal?
Right, like, I'm going to read your mind. I want to know what's in that journal.
Yeah. I feel like it would be crazy deep thoughts because obviously she contemplated a lot of different things in her life. That is, I think it would be like poetry, like emotional, beautiful, but like, imagine really knowing and then you can't even confront her and save her because technically you weren't supposed to know. Like, that's like...
Right, exactly.
That's like a movie. It's like a movie in itself. Okay. Right. What do you want to be known for when it's all said and done? Have you ever thought, like, at the end of the day, I just hope people know me for...
At the end of the day, I just want people to know that, like, I'm for marginalized communities. Like, I mean, like, that's why I talk about, like, what I do. Because, like, I want people to know me for trying my best to stand up to injustice. Like, that's it.
Do you see yourself being a political figure? Like, or is it more just like, I'm good with TikTok for now and, like, forever?
Well, I am planning to go to college, even though I said it was a scam. But I'm planning to go into, like, social work and advocacy and, like, minor in, like, political science. So I don't necessarily want to be, like, a political figure, but I still want to have, influence on like communities and
Yeah.
things like that.
Okay. How did TikTok come about for you?
My friend just kept sending me all these TikToks, and she was like, download the app. So then I just downloaded it. And then at first I started with making like comedy like videos, and then the more and more I saw like the racism on the app, I was like, you know what, I have to address
Wow.
this. And then I just stuck with that.
Wow. That's so, I feel like, everyone's always trying to find like what their calling is. And it's the coolest thing when you kind of stumble across
Mm-hmm.
something that then impacts people. That's incredible. Being that you're mixed, how has it been being light skinned black and sort of talking about racial issues, but
Mm-hmm.
specifically the N word? Have you ever talked to both races and saying, like, you know what, I think we should stop it. I think that we all should, be okay with it because
Mm-hmm.
if it's used in a certain way, then it's fine.
Right. So in reality, I mean, yes, the word should not be used, like, period. Like, the history behind it is horrible and it's horrific. But I mean, people are still going to say it. And the fact that people are still going to say it, only black people should say it, since that word was used to oppress black people. It wasn't a word that was used to oppress white people. It wasn't a word used to oppress, like, Hispanic people or Asian people. Like, it was directed towards our people. And
Yeah.
so I've had conversations with white people and be like, you can't say it. Like,
Okay.
you just can't. And then black people, it's just kind of like, you can or you can't. Like, you can decide for
Yeah.
yourself whether you want to or not.
Mhm.
And like, me being mixed, like, always had like mixed emotions about it, because it's like, I am half white. So like, are people gonna look at me and be like, oh, you're not full black, or like, you're not black enough, like, you can't say it, whatnot. So I do my best to not say it, but I mean,
Yeah.
occasionally I do.
Same.
But yeah.
Okay. Reaction to, let's get into the whole George Floyd situation.
Mm-hmm.
What is your reaction to the riots? Obviously, I've been promoting that video where that was sort of a reaction. Are you still feeling the same way where it's like, you know what, that riots are necessary? Do you feel like people are taking it a little too far?
Mm-hmm.
What's your perception now?
To some extent, it's like, I mean, we're like, the black community is just angry. Like, we're kind of tired of being treated like our lives aren't, they don't matter as much as like white lives, and that's what kind of has started the riots. But to big companies, I don't care, because they're $1 million companies. They'll be fine. So what? They got looted. But black-owned businesses, small-owned businesses, that's kind of like, y'all went too far with that one. It's all like, you're destroying people's lives, part of our community, and I just found that kind of like, that's not really helping our cause. And apparently, according to the mayor, the governor, and the city chief of Minneapolis, they had confirmed that a lot of the looting and the riots were started by alt-right conservatives. They were sent there to destroy all those things. So a lot
Yeah.
of them weren't even caused by the protesters themselves.
Yeah, there's
So,
actual video footage that I saw today, like sort of exposing those people.
right.
And so, there is a lot of white people or non-black people who are really supportive of the BLM movement. And these are some people who grew up in the hood, who
Right.
pretty much identify as, someone who's kind of gone through struggles alongside black people. Do you feel
Right.
like there's a difference between acting black and embracing the black culture? Like, what do you think about white people who feel that, you know what, I really do
Mm-hmm.
identify as not the stereotypical white girl?
I understand for sure if someone was raised in a community surrounded by a lot of black people. And like that, I understand. Like, you grew up with that. That's your normalcy. Oh, my grandparents just got home. That's your normalcy, and that's okay.
Yeah.
But for the white people who are not, and they grew up in the suburbs, and then they try to shift themselves into that category or that, image, that's when it's like, okay, relax. Like, no. But I totally understand if non-black people or white people, act black, you know what I'm saying, in a community that was surrounded by a lot of black people.
Okay. Trump is being vocal but not vocal enough about this whole situation. If you could ask him a question and you knew he couldn't lie, do you have a question you would ask him?
God, so many questions.
I know.
I would honestly ask him, do you support the Black Lives Matter movement? Because his actions, even before, like, he became president, were, like, racist. And even now, like, it's not blatantly, racist, but, like, if you really look at it, it's like,
Underlining, right?
the underlying, there's racism there. So I feel like if I just straight up ask him, are you an ally of the black community? Do you support Black Lives Matter movement? And, like, if he could not lie, like, I'd want to know, because depending on that answer, it's like, okay, well, there you go.
Yeah. What's something you would make a law if you could?
Um, I would think, I guess since based on everything that's going on, police officers should be held accountable, like, as if they were just a normal citizen, like, whatever
Yeah.
crime they commit, um, they deserve the punishment, or the consequences that a regular citizen would.
Yeah. Now we're gonna play the game racist or nah.
Mm-hmm.
Basically, I'm gonna, shoot out some scenarios and you let me know, is that racist or is it not? Braids on non-black women.
Like, African, like, black culture braids.
Yeah, uh-huh.
Um, the intentions are not always racist, but it's cultural appropriation. So
Okay.
I would put it in, like, the racist category.
Okay. Tanning to become more bronze or bleaching your skin to become more light.
I don't know. That's, like, difficult because
Yeah.
it's like, it's not straight up racism or it's not straight up racist, but it's like you're trying to become a race that you're not. So yeah, I'd probably have to put it in the racist category.
Does it make a difference with a white person trying to look more darker or a black person trying to look more lighter, or does it really correlate and it's the same level of race?
I feel like it's a little different because throughout, like, America's history and even other countries, being lighter was always seen as, prettier, was always seen as more acceptable. So when black women, bleach their skin, it's kind of like that ingrained history is like,
Yeah.
we're still teaching that lighter skin is more acceptable. I mean, in the black community, that's what colorism is that, and it can be vice versa too. But then when white women darker their skin, I think it's because, like, there's multiple reasons. One, they just want to get tanner, they want to look tanner, and they can't.
Yeah.
From the natural sun. But sometimes it's also like they want to be black, and then that's where the line is crossed.
Yeah.
That is.
I understand. Okay. Celebrities like Whoa Vicky and Bad Baby talking hood, racist or not?
I think it's racist, especially what they say, for sure.
Okay.
I mean, like, Bad Baby literally was like, who wants to be black? Like, no one wants to be black. Then she compared black people to gorillas and, like, the story of Tarzan, and, like, that's, like, she was Tarzan, and then black people were the gorillas, and I was just like, okay.
Crazy.
And then Wolviki claimed that she was black, and we're all like, but you're not. So.
Wow.
Yeah.
Publicly identifying as a certain race or culture. Like, it sounds like Bad Baby, she seems like she more so identifies with the black culture. Mm-hmm. Is that racist? Someone who identifies more,
I guess.
You're mixed. So a lot of mixed people can say, I identify more on one side or the other.
Right.
So what if somebody's not mixed, not just is it similar to sexuality where it's like I really am in this body, but like who I am identifies as something else.
Right. So that term, especially with the race, is considered to be like transracial, and it's like you can identify with your race, but a culture is one thing. Like, a culture is interchangeable. Like, people can switch in and out of cultures, but it's also like you are your race. Like, if you are white, you can't be like,
you can't say, oh, you have to claim literally what you are, but to identify as something else.
Yeah.
Is that racist to identify as something else? Is it sort of racism? And maybe not in a harsh way. Mm-hmm. Maybe in a harsh way, but Like,
To some extent, it is, because you're trying to claim something that you're not, or you're trying to be part of a community that you're not necessarily part of. Um, but like, for example, I traveled to Brazil, and there were American people who ended up living in Brazil, but they identified now with that culture more, but they don't claim that they're Brazilian. You know what I'm saying? So like that.
well, I understand, like, nationality too. Like, if you move to another country and now you feel like, okay, well, this is really where I sort of adopt this. But the reason why I added that question is because there's so many people sexually, like, Caitlyn Jenner, who really truly identified as someone within them. And I think it's a conversation we don't have enough. And you tell me
Right.
if you disagree or not. But I feel like, me not being as political, I'm not political really at all, but thinking to myself, like, wow, there's probably a lot of people on the DL about who they really feel inside,
Yeah.
because we have not allowed them to identify, even though they could never, even though a white person could never, if they knew that the world was ending and all black people are going to be killed, they can bleach their hair and be like, well, today I'm white.
Right.
They have that privilege of switching it up, just like a woman to a man. If you're naturally a man, you love to be a woman for the day. But if you knew you had to be a man just to step into this male's locker room, you're gonna buff it up a little bit more. But I sometimes I do feel for those people who really identify and grew up in a culture that maybe is not what they look like. And I always wonder to myself, is that insensitive, or am I being like ignorant to the bigger picture of, is that racist or not?
No, like, see, like, that conversation, like, you can't fully put it in race, like, is it racist or is it not racist? Because it's a very difficult, like you said, it's a very difficult conversation to have. And, like, I completely understand where you're coming from. Like, someone who grew up in a more, like, not the stereotypical, like, suburban white community, and then they identify more with black people and that culture, like, that's completely understandable. So yeah, I get where you're coming from.
Yeah. Okay. Now that Doja Cat, Ariana, this is actually something Lana Del Rey. I don't know if you heard about this. She publicly said a quote. Now that Doja Cat, Ariana Grande, Camila Cabello, Cardi B, Kalani, Nicki Minaj, and Beyonce have had #1 songs about being sexy, wearing no clothes, cheating, etc., can I please go back to singing about being embodied, feeling beautiful by being in love, even if the relationship is not perfect, or dancing for money or whatever I want, without being crucified or saying that I'm glamorizing abuse? It sounds like she's, comparing herself. People were really upset with her comparing herself to them. What's your reaction to that? Do you feel like that was racist, or do you feel like she was just talking about headliners and comparing herself to headliners?
Honestly, I didn't know the whole tea about that whole situation. Like, I kept seeing people post about it, but I didn't know exactly what she said. But I honestly think that it had more to do with, like, music than it did specifically have to do with race. So I wouldn't really put that. I would say that's not necessarily racist, because I don't think she didn't really mention anything about race. She was talking more about what they sing about, and, like, what they publicize. And then she's like, well, why can't I do the same thing?
Understandable. True. Okay, last but not least, Jimmy Fallon. He was, they pulled up some old stuff. We are in cancel culture, unfortunately. And Jimmy Fallon, they pulled up a video of him on SNL in blackface. Sorry, my Google.
Good.
Yeah, and so Jamie Foxx actually said, this is not blackface. This is him impersonating, I believe it was Dave Chappelle or something like that. I forget what celebrity or black comedian that he was celebrating, but he chose to be in blackface. Now, did you hear about that? Okay, so basically, what do you think about comedians, white comedians putting on, even for Halloween, we've seen, is that blackface when it's not to make fun of a person being black, but it's more so to impersonate a character? Is that racism, or is that...
Well, the history of blackface, originally it was supposed to make fun of black people, but it was also, there was a whole show, I forget what it's called, but it was a whole show white people impersonating black people, and like that became really famous, and like they were impersonating, trying to be a black character as like a white man trying to be another black man. And so then, even though celebrities' intentions now are not to be like, oh, I'm not making fun of them, I'm just trying to be them, like as a costume, it's like that's racist, because it's like our skin, like black people's skin color is not a costume. Like, even when it comes to like Native American culture, like wearing headdresses, like it's not a costume. um like, so yeah, I'd put that in racist, because like at the end of the day it is blackface.
Okay. All right. Well, that's pretty much it. Thank you so much.
Yeah, of
It was so
course.
much fun.
I
And
enjoyed it.
yes. And this entire video is going to be left on my Instagram, but it's also going to be shortened down and put on my YouTube, guys. Make sure to click the link in bio, subscribe,